But at the end of the day, if we're all after the same thing, which is not only the truth, but it is public safety and public information, then let's inform them together and let's be transparent and incredibly forthright together so that people trust us.
Hello and welcome to Shop Talk, where we talk about what's going on in law enforcement and the Scottsdale PD. Now here are your hosts, Chief Jeff Walter and Sergeant Kevin Kwan.
Hey everyone, welcome to the 16th, Kevin, the 16th episode of Shop Talk. I'm Chief Jeff Walter with the Scottsdale Police Department. Excited to be with you again this month. And another wonderful guest on, Rachel Cole. We'll get to her momentarily. Excited to really talk about PD and media relations, which I know some of our listeners out there are like, oh no, the Chief's talking to the media. Yes, and so really excited to have her on. Kevin, wow, it's November.
Yeah, I can't believe it. It's already the end of 2022.
But excited to be with everybody today. A lot going on.
Yep.
I mean, a lot going on. For those people who don't know, in the police department, technology plays a huge role for us. And last week we rolled out a completely new records management system, which is a big deal. In fact, in the 28 years since I've started here, I think this is only the third or fourth records management system that we've had over that span of time. And that's a big lift. So a lot going on technology-wise in the PD, drones and records management and computer automated dispatch, new systems, new jail management system, new automatic ticket writers and collision data.
But it's all in to help us to get to the 2022 and be progressive and be in the forefront of it just because of how technology runs. And when I started 15 years ago, we had this same records management system. So jumping into it, how you guys went through and found the technology for us is leap years ahead.
Yeah, and the fact that now records management is it's in the cloud. That whole system's in the cloud. And I remember when before we first started talking about the cloud, I'm like, why do we keep talking about what's in the clouds? I don't understand. I opened yesterday to the, in Scottsdale, we have the Real-Time Crime Center National Association has their inaugural technology conference that opened up yesterday. And they asked me to speak at it right at the beginning. And I think I bombed. It was like a night at the Improv.
What happened?
Well, you know me, I like to throw out, I like to have fun. I like to throw a lot of jokes out. Yeah. And I shared with them, I said, when I started in 1994, that the report writing software that we were using in Scottsdale PD in 1994, I pulled it out of my pocket. It was called a pen.
And crickets.
Yeah, like when I knew who the cops were in the room because of what I said was I pulled it out of my pocket. I said, here's my report writing software from 1994 along with my tin on my steering wheel. You know, so Rachel knows about this, and feel free, you can weigh in even though we haven't introduced you yet, but your dad was a cop and your brother's a cop. The tin was where we held our tickets and we'd put it on the steering wheel and write our reports. Your dad's certainly going to remember that. Yeah.
It's a tin clipboard.
Right. And so
it held everything.
I saw cops laughing, you know, especially because they were older like me. And then I said, do you know what our records management system in 1994 was a filing cabinet for that year's reports, right? Reports. It was. Ready? Here, just look at another child. That year's reports and that year's tickets were in filing cabinets, many rows of filing cabinets. And then past years, ready? You're going to know this term because you're a tech guru. Past years reports and tickets were on microfiche.
Oh, I remember going to the library and seeing those.
When you were a kid, right?
Yeah.
So microfiche
was hilarious.
You'd pull it out by report number. You'd pull it out and it'd be like a clear card that essentially had, think of it as like almost like a photocopy of every page of the report, but it was miniaturized.
Yeah.
And then they would put it in a microfiche machine and hit print, and it would print the report out normal size.
Did you have
Rachel's
looking
viewers? Like, oh my God,
mind blown.
Oh my God, you're a dinosaur. But that was what I shared with them in the tech conference was that's in the span of one career.
Yeah. The complete change, right?
And so that's so strange to me. So in that's in the 90s. That's not that far. That's not that long. Stop it.
It is pretty
Stop
far.
it. You and Rachel
People
looking at me like,
we're
oh my
closer
God.
to 2050 than 1990, sir. It's crazy to think back like that, though,
Yeah.
isn't it? It's perspective.
That's awesome.
A lot going on. A lot going on in the community. Last night was a great night for us. We graduated the 63rd Scottsdale Police Citizens Academy. Yeah. Which is I'm super excited about. What a great bunch of folks from the community. What I loved about it was all age ranges. You know, some young folks, some folks in middle age, some of our seniors, business owners and residents, and just tremendous. Yeah. What a great group. And the two themes that I really hear from Citizens Academy are, number one, wow, I had no idea you did all this stuff, and what an amazing organization. And then number two is what great people we have. Yeah. All of the people that came in that teach, I mean, from patrol to detectives to communications, to the forensics scientists, just throughout the whole organization. They're like, wow, you have amazing people. And I say, yeah, I know. Thank you.
Their questions were great this session, because now that it's my unit runs it, and this is the second time we've done it, and the feedback that we get is exactly that. And we didn't realize that Scottsdale had all this that they were doing for the community, which is the whole reason that we have this Citizens Academy. So
I shared with them last night, and for our listeners out there, I said, you know what's striking, and I think why people are so surprised, is that in our society today, we have taken all of society's ills, and we've then expected, or in most cases, we've demanded that police departments across the country then respond and deal with those societal ills. And then if we don't do it perfectly, that's when we get in trouble. And so, and that's I shared with them, that's a very difficult position to be put in. Hey, the police are responsible for dealing with mental illness and suicide. They're responsible for domestic violence. They're responsible, obviously, for violent crimes. They're responsible now for the homeless. They're responsible for sexual assault and human trafficking. You know, just the list goes on and on and on. Mm-hmm. And it's the police. What are you doing about it? And so, in Scottsdale, we're doing a lot, and we've talked about that in the last 15 prior episodes of what we're doing and how we're partnering with the community. And so it was great. It was great to see another group graduate. Class 64 will start in the spring, probably that February, March timeframe. So we're excited to get Class 64 rolling.
Yep. And they can, if anyone is interested, they can just look on our social media or our website to contact us about it.
And here's the thing. This is my challenge, is that have some conversation with people out there, those of our listeners that know people that aren't fans of the police. I challenge people all the time, is you don't have to love the police or be a fan of the police to come join Citizens Academy to learn about the police department. In fact, if I welcome you, if you think we don't need the police, or I don't like the police for XYZ reasons, or you've had bad experience with the police in the past, I'd love to have you come out and apply and be part of Citizens Academy and see why we do what we do and how we do that. Also, for those recognize, we do a background.
We do
a quick background just to make sure that we're not getting career criminals who want to learn about how we do what we do. Right. So anyway, it's a wonderful, wonderful program, and I love for more people to apply for it and get into see what we do.
Yep.
Our chief's guest this month is an anchor, reporter, and multi-skilled journalist for 12 News. She joined Team 12 from KRIS-TV, Channel 6 in Corpus Christi, Texas, where she was a morning anchor and reporter. While in Texas, she covered several high-profile trials, including the Hannah Overton case, which involved a foster mother convicted in the death of her 4-year-old foster son, who served 7 years in prison before her conviction was overturned. A native Arizonan, she is a Cum Laude graduate of the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication at Arizona State University. In her spare time, she enjoys running, hiking, and cheering on Arizona sports teams. Please welcome to Shop Talk, Rachel Cole.
Podcast. Good afternoon, everyone. Hello.
It's great. And for those of you who don't know, and I'm sure most of you do if you follow news in the Valley, Rachel is a news anchor and reporter for 12 News. And we're excited that she is with us and agreed to kind of sit down and chat with us a little bit, because I think that there's always you mentioned something before we came on or we started recording about how people see sometimes both police and the media, and how those two trains are heading in the same direction sometimes. So it's great to have you here, because police and media have an exceptional relationship and should. Sometimes it can be tenuous,
Sure.
But it's great to have you here.
Well, thank you, Chief. I appreciate that. I appreciate the invitation from Kevin Kwan. But yeah, happy to be here. This is my first podcast, so I will preface with that. So apologies if it's not nearly as smooth as some of the stuff that gets recorded and edited
It's always going to be smooth.
on our day-to-day basis at work.
Tell us about yourself a little bit. Kind of give us your background.
Well, most recently, I just got married.
Congratulations.
Thank you
Awesome.
so much. Yes, so I'm still riding that high. It was the best 2 weeks. The 2 years leading up to the big day, the planning and stuff, not as exciting and thrilling, right? There's a budget and you just break right through that.
Yeah. So how recent was it?
So it was literally 3 weeks ago.
Oh, great.
In North Scottsdale.
Okay, great.
Yeah. We didn't hire any police to watch the gift box. People have been stealing wedding cards, apparently wedding crashing and whatnot. I've been hearing about that.
Oh my
yeah.
gosh.
I mean, come on. This is worse than the toothbrush heads thing.
Yeah.
Come on.
That's terrible.
So anyway, but yeah, it was beautiful. It was all outdoors, friends and family in from Oregon, Texas. And then of course here locally, all celebrated with us. So it was really great to see. And then while they were in town over that stretch, a couple people got to see me anchor the news. So
That's
that was
awesome.
fun
Yeah,
for
that's
them.
cool.
And just been busy. I'm hitting 11 years in the business
Wow.
in January. So it's been a wild ride. It started in Corpus Christi, Texas, and got me here to Phoenix, Arizona, where I grew up. I grew up in Paradise Valley, just off of the 51 in Cactus, and it's good to be home.
Good. Okay, what high school did you go to?
I went to Horizon High School, proud Husky.
Hello,
Oh,
Huskies in the
Kevin.
house.
No, this
right
one.
here. Yeah.
Stop it,
Yeah.
Chief.
Yeah, I went to
Cool.
I went to Horizon
We won't
High
ask
School.
you what year.
88.
Alrighty, that's a great year. That's the year I was born. Cheers.
Anyway, thanks for being with us today. That's the end of the show. Make sure you catch Rachel Cole on 12 News.
Yeah, let's wrap it up.
I'm gonna
88's
just
a great
flash the
year.
sign.
Right.
Yeah, my wife and I graduated from Horizon High School in 1988.
How about that?
Yeah,
That
yeah.
is fantastic. It's a great school, although, the landscape has changed quite a bit
Oh,
with
yeah.
the way the world is today.
Yeah.
It's got
It looks like a prison.
the fencing all around it. It felt like a prison during those 4 years, right? You always tried to sneak out during lunch, and the duty aides are like, I don't think so. I know you're going to your Buick Regal. Not a chance.
Wait, you graduated from Horizon, and then somehow you found your way to Texas.
I did, but it wasn't before I had gone to community college
Okay.
and then eventually Arizona State University.
Did you go to PVCC?
I did.
Me too.
Did you really?
Yeah, for a year, and then I went to NAU. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, how funny! Yeah. PVCC took a lot of those, prereq courses,
Yep.
and had a car accident, which had deterred me from going to ASU for all 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
It was, hey, who's going to pay tuition if you broke your leg and you can't work?
Right,
So my
right.
parents were like, figure it out. Ended up at PVCC
Yep.
and then ASU, and then my first job in journalism was in Corpus Christi, Texas.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Did you get your degree in journalism?
I did broadcast and mass communications. Yes, sir.
Okay, great. And then went to Texas. And how'd you start there?
One of my professors at the time at Arizona State University had said, obviously a lot of the graduates want to have jobs upon graduation. And so I had applied for a job in Grand Junction, Colorado, and was in talks with the news director there and was just on the cusp of getting that job when my professor said, don't sign that contract. Just hang on. You might not want to go there. Said there's an opening in Corpus Christi. And I said, where is that? Okay. So conveniently, I do have family in Austin. And so I was like, oh, okay, well, it would be great to go to Texas where I have family, even though it's a long drive. It's 3.5 hours from the coastal bend. But long story short, he said, they might have jobs opening. So I had contacted the news director, sent over my resume tape, which was just an array of mildly good, desk
Mildly
takes and things like that I got to do during internships. And they flew me out, which was unheard of at the time. This is, almost a year or two after the recession.
Yeah,
and so they flew me out, and I just thought, wow, if I could work somewhere near the ocean, this would be amazing. And got hired and started January 3rd, 2012, right after I graduated at ASU, December 16th.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Packed up a U-Haul and moved out. It was crazy. 1,500 miles away from
Parents
everything
crying,
I knew.
Parents crying as you're driving away.
My dad
to
was
U-Haul.
like, peace. See you later. Thanks for graduating.
I'm done.
Yeah.
My responsibility to you is done. Goodbye.
One left of 4 kids. So it was great. I had a great experience in South Texas. Loved everybody, great mentors, and I wouldn't have changed it for the world. It's very, very fun experience.
And so then how'd you come back?
And so I had moved there under the terms that I would stay for 2 years. I had a countdown app on my phone until the day I could move back closer to family, right? I'm such a homebody. And ended up staying for 2 more contracts. So the average contract for any journalist is maybe 1 to 3 years, just depends. Ended up staying there for 5 years. And when the time came to re-sign a new contract, it was like, wow, if I don't leave South Texas now, I'll never
you're gonna
leave.
be,
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have left that job for anything but one here at home. And so when the Phoenix job came up, I was in talks with the news director, and they flew me out to do an interview. My dad had actually turned 60 that same week, but I didn't tell anyone in the family that I was coming here to interview because I didn't want to jinx it. And I was so hopeful to come back home and do what I love in the place that I grew up.
That's
so
awesome.
it all worked out. Yep, back here in 2017.
Okay, so you've been back, 5 years.
Yeah, just had my 5-year anniversary with 12 News.
That's awesome.
So what type of things did you like? It's different, right? The coverage in Corpus Christi is completely different than here. Like, what was your assignments in there? Were you on the desk or were you out in the field?
It's funny that you asked that because it's quite different than the day-to-day that I have here in Phoenix. And, a lot of that, when you start in journalism, you do go to a small, forgiving town, right? They know you're going to make mistakes. You're very green. So I was a court reporter, essentially. I would go to the courthouse, the Nueces County Courthouse, which took me a little while to learn how to say Nueces, but I've got it. And I went there almost every day and didn't know what an affidavit or a docket or any, I wasn't a big Law and Order viewer. So I learned a lot of that on the job. And that's stuff that you don't necessarily learn in school. And developing relationships with bailiffs and judges and court reporters. And attorneys for that matter, and trying to not just tell a story about maybe a trial, but to find out what crime led up to this particular situation, right? Because you're not having a court case without some sort of incident. Yeah. So it was very interesting to go to the courthouse on a day-to-day and develop those relationships and really learn, what the heck I was talking about at 5, 6, and 10 every night. And I did that for about a year, until new management came in and got a new news director and started doing a happening now desk. What's going on right now in the middle of a newscast. And that was fun. It allowed me to show a little more personality than an 80-second news piece did. And the new management was like, oh, we kind of like you on the morning show. I got promoted to morning news anchor.
Show. Wow.
Yeah, on my 2nd year there in Corpus. So that was very fun. And I did that for the remaining 4 years, along with reporting as well.
That's cool.
It's very fun.
So, one of our goals here on the show is, because we bring on a kind of very diverse guests, different from different areas. And so what we'd like to do is we like to then connect them to law enforcement and Scottsdale. And so can you kind of share with us you have a very personal connection to public safety. And if you wouldn't mind sharing that with us.
Sure, not at all. I think the main one, of course, is that my dad was in law enforcement. He served with the Phoenix Police Department for 30 years. And my big brother is also a Phoenix police officer. He's done patrol for most of his career until more recently, where he's become a school resource officer. Yeah. And so that is the main personal connection. Professionally, and so daily, we're in touch with police and fire and DPS and the forestry department. Yep. Our relationships professionally with public safety really help us shape the news and what we're covering and the content. And, while it's great to talk with neighbors and witnesses and people who may be affected by the scene or situation, it's really the public information officers that help us curate the news and make sure that we're bridging that gap between police and the public,
Right.
and kind of be in that vein of communication and facts.
Yeah. Is it hard sometimes for you? You know, you have such a great connection to public safety with your dad and your brother, and is it sometimes difficult because there are times when there's a story, whether it's Phoenix PD, which you're connected with, or Scottsdale PD because you live here. I'll give you an example. I mean, we had an officer who was, I'm very transparent on the show. We had an officer last week who was arrested for DUI collision in Scottsdale in his work vehicle, and but was not on duty at the time, was off duty. And so is it difficult when you wind up, because you have such a close connection to law enforcement, difficult to kind of get into those stories or be even more hard hitting or, going after when we do wrong? Because there are times when we do things wrong. Is there difficulty in that?
You would assume so, because it's natural for a daughter of a police officer to want to side with what they know personally.
Right.
But at the end of the day, my job is to convey to viewers what's happened,
yes,
regardless of my personal take, experience, friendships, etc. But it's so interesting because anytime there is a questionable situation or a bad situation or a good situation, whether it's a cop shooting hoops with a child or it's a cop getting a DUI, I will go to my dad who's now retired, and I will ask him about that situation. And he's always said to me, every day police officers have a series of choices to make, and sometimes they make the wrong ones.
Yes.
And he never has once defended or said that, because we're a police family or I'm a police officer, we're always in the right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think any one of us can admit that there are many people in our respective industries who make the wrong decisions, and that ultimately leads to consequences. And it is unfortunate, but you do have that ability to make that choice, and you don't necessarly get a second chance. To fix
agreed.
it.
And I completely agree with your dad's perspective and yours as well. We're a profession populated in my own organization. We have 700 people. 400 of those are sworn police officers, and they're human beings. And they make mistakes, and sometimes those mistakes are catastrophic.
Exactly.
Or across the country, we've seen that sometimes those mistakes are criminal in nature.
Right.
And then we face the repercussions of that. The hard part, and I shared Citizens Academy group last night, was that they're human beings and they make mistakes. It has to be, as a police chief and in the media, we have to be willing to call those mistakes out and say, yeah, this is what happened. This is wrong, and then we have to deal with it. It's when we circle the wagons in the law enforcement profession, and we try to protect something that we should be transparent about that gets us into trouble.
Right. Exactly. It's natural to want to defend and protect your people, your organization, your industry, but at the same time, you have to be fair to the people that you're serving. And for us, it's our viewers, it's our community, it's the Valley as a whole. So you have to keep that in mind equally to what your responsibilities are in your respective profession. Yeah,
agreed. And the only hard part for me is that if all of law enforcement gets painted with the same broad brush, and like the Derek Chauvin, from Minneapolis, it is okay because of what that officer did in this other state, then all police officers are bad, which you and I both know is just absolutely not the truth. And so it's working against then that narrative, which is why we created such a robust community engagement section here on social media. It's why we have people like you on it, so we can all participate in that narrative together. And so that's one of the things I love. The importance of having good media relations.
Yeah, so that one is a great kind of hitting home for me. Doing what I do on a daily basis. It's difficult at times when we do get inquiries on everything when it gets heard, right? As soon as the radio goes off, that's a keyword or something the news wants to do. And I know that Aaron and I try to get as much information that we can as long as it's factual. And I think that's the hardest part is like we want to give as much to the media to put out, but a lot of times we have no idea what the actual stuff is. And then we feel like, well, they're going to think that we're hiding something, or what's going to go out to it, that it's just this weird world.
Yeah.
So for listeners out there, in every newsroom, we have police scanners. Sometimes we have photojournalists who have them in their car. So yes, there are trigger words that we as a station will hear, and then we're immediately wondering, okay, what happened? Where is it? We have a crew on the way, and that's our job to jump the gun, even if that's what we're doing, and get to the scene, the situation, and find out what's happening. And then, of course, relay that information to our audience, usually on social media, if not the 5, 6, and 10 newscasts. So when we hear those trigger words, we do immediately hit up the PIOs, the public information officers. And we say, Kevin, look, we need to know exactly what's going on right now. We hit them with an email, and it goes to a general email account. And then whoever is on duty that day, we expect answers, because we want to then immediately give that information to the public. And we do. My bosses, though, will say it is more important to be right than to be first.
Right.
And I don't think that every station across the country feels that way, has that mentality.
Totally
so I really take a lot of pride in that with our team, is that we want to be right, and have something to give. Not, there's a situation and we don't have any details, but we'll bring you more. Well, that doesn't help anybody.
Right.
Unless it's, of course, a public safety issue where we're to stay away from the area, police are investigating, so to your credit, there are times where we're bent out of shape and we think, oh, the police department is hiding something from us because they won't just tell us what's going on. Well, guess what? If an investigation is underway, if more units are responding, if, you guys are just getting there and assessing the situation, then, there's a level of understanding that we need to have, that it's not a hide and seek game of information. It is we don't have it yet, and when we do, we will then relay that to you. And so, yes, we do think that you guys are hiding stuff occasionally. That's just because we are so impatient sometimes, because we're also under deadline. Police departments aren't necessarily under deadline,
right?
And that's just a different world. So we're just coming at it with a different mindset, and we're sorry.
So interesting.
Sorry, Kev.
So interesting about that is that if you really break it down, we're both truth seekers.
Exactly.
Right.
We're after the same thing,
but the timeline is different.
Yes.
So in law enforcement, we're truth seekers. We're beginning investigation. We plod along very meticulously to get to what the truth is. And if that takes us a week or 2 weeks or a month to get to the bottom of investigation or longer, that's what it takes. We have to have a good quality investigation to put before the county attorney, right, or the city attorney, depending on the case. And in your profession, you too are truth seekers, but you got a deadline that we don't have. Your deadline is like, hey, I need this by 6 o'clock. I got something going out. And so that's what's really interesting.
I think with the amount of work that we all do on a regular basis and the new cases that surface all the time, or new stories and reports and things, there's never a shortage of stuff to talk about. So to dig backwards without any new angle, right? In the news, you're always looking for the fresh take, new angle. So it's interesting to hear that there's some.
Oh, there's always. I think
that
one. There's always a fresh take.
There's always a fresh take.
It's always something coming up.
And you never know. And maybe that reporter or that station, that's their beat, that's their assignment. Every station is different, and so if that's their assignment, then you know what? Applause to them for sticking with it. I know it can be uncomfortable for all parties involved, but someone somewhere has told them to do that.
Yeah, you're right. And like I said, if we make a mistake, by all means, it's my job. I'm the chief. I raised my hand. I said I wanted to do it, and I need to be held to account for mistakes that we make. And so I'm willing to do that. Fortunately, we have some amazing employees, and the colossal mistakes for us, the DUI, those are few and far between, but they do happen. And you should, especially when you're in a city vehicle, you should call us to account for that behavior. Yep.
Yeah. I think every industry has its bad apples, and nobody wants to be categorized in a one big broad group. And I don't think there's too many people out there that would argue otherwise. So, I mean, there's been plenty of disgraced journalists in the world,
Sure,
and
sure.
I wouldn't want to be roped in with one of them.
No.
I mean, I wake up every day and have decisions to make, and hopefully I'm making the right ones that show respect for myself, my job, and my community, because I'm doing a service for our community, and I need to do it right and do it well.
Not gonna lie to you, I do regularly watch news bloopers on YouTube.
Are they not the best? Is that not the funniest thing you've ever seen?
We never even really understood
I love it.
how much you can do until we started filming things, and then your brain just goes to mush, and you're like, what just happened? And then I tell this to people all the time. If we go do a recorded clip, I know I can screw up. There's not as much pressure. But
Sure.
when it's live, my brain just goes,
It's a different
what
vein.
did they just ask? Did I answer it right? Oh, crap.
Isn't it in your head? It's so beautiful and poetic.
Yes.
And I mean, you guys were generous enough to give me the questions ahead of time so I could at least think about it. And I go, oh, they're so beautiful in my head. My response is, none of it has come out yet. Everything I thought about yesterday, none of it's come out yet. So yeah, something about live TV or podcast, whatever it is, even a live Instagram, you can look like an idiot. And you're like, well, I already come this far.
We have talked about, and I thought Angela Harrell from the 100 Club when she was on was great because she asked us a great question. I loved it. She turned it around on us and asked us a question about, what was one of the most memorable calls or incidents that you were ever on. And so that bred, I thought, a really great discussion. We'd like to throw the same question back at you, kind of talking about what do you have a lot of stories that you've done. Can you talk about one or two that have been really impactful to you, your career, your life, and how you see the world?
It's such a loaded question because after 10 years in the business and doing 5 stories a week for X amount of weeks and years, there are a lot to choose from. More recently, when I was thinking about this question, I thought about the Westgate shooter in May of 2020.
Yeah.
And there are a couple of reasons why that story stood out and why it's impactful to me, not only because it was a team response, but because I had been assigned earlier in the day to a DPS story, wrong way drivers. And I was getting ready to do the last part of my puzzle, my assignment that day. And that was to go shoot part of me standing by the freeway talking about the stats and whatnot. And I get a text from our assignment desk and it says, we need you at Westgate right now. Well, I'm at the 101 in Thomas.
Yeah.
So I'm not necessarily close.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh geez, is there somebody closer? Well, this is the whole team. People who aren't even on duty tonight working are responding to this, and it's active shooter. So of course, you load up your gear and you get in the car and you just go that way, and you're getting texts and updates on the way over. And I'm meeting with a photographer because we're going to go live and tell the public what's going on. And thankfully, there were no fatalities,
right.
But it was this young suspect who went on social media, said he was going to attack couples there at the Westgate shopping district, and did so. And, we get there, and part of this good relationship with police, regardless of department, is knowing that if they tell us, hey, media staging is X, you go there.
Yeah.
Right.
Because there is a trust that's developed where police are going to tell you where the safest place is, and you need to trust that they know. I know everybody wants to be up against the caution tape and as close to the situation as possible, but that's where we went, and we had different teams in different places. But what was more impactful than just the crime itself and the intensity of what was going on was the parents and the family and the friends of the people who were within those districts and those respective businesses who were hiding, who were told to get down and hide and stay there until further notice. And I mean, every police department was responding, the sheriff's office, you name it, they were there. And you have these parents coming up. My daughter just started her first job as a server. She's in there. Oh. And so now, not only am I trying to be a journalist and tell the public what's going on when it's my turn, because as a team, we're taking turns and not, being redundant so that there's clear and concise information being conveyed. But now I've got this mother who's in tears, who clearly is not trying to do an interview. Although I will say, those are the moments that we want to get because they help tell the real story of what is going on in a situation. But she was like, absolutely, my daughter's coming. Of course, get that. Yeah. We got them reuniting after hours of waiting, and they hugged and they were crying and they kind of like were talking to us a little bit. And it's just the emotional roller coaster and the intensity of the situation made it a very impactful story to be a part of, and to be a part of it with my entire team, our team. It was really well done. Yeah. And I have to say, in a lot of our reporting, the police response and apprehension, that's one we're never supposed to say because it's not conversational, and the apprehension of the suspect safely. And now that young man will serve 44 years in prison for what he did.
Yeah. Shout out to Chris Briggs, who's the chief in Glendale, and the Glendale Police Department.
Absolutely.
Who responded to that. Chris and I are good friends, and a great organization and great response.
100%.
Along with the other West Valley agencies who responded to that. But it's big stories like that because they're so impactful to other people's lives. And people say, "Oh, the reporter's there. They're trying to break in a very emotional situation." No. That's because the American people want to see that. They want to know. They want to be a part of that. They want to. Everybody wants to, at least for a moment, connect with other human beings and see what they're doing. And a story like that is huge, especially the reunification of mom and daughter. What a cool thing to see.
And she was all for it. Obviously, as a mother, she was very nervous but she had been texting with her daughter a little bit, so she knew her daughter was okay. And that was part of what allowed me to establish that quick and succinct relationship with her, is that she already knew what she wanted to know, which was, is my child okay? And yes, there are times when, as a journalist, you need to respect the boundaries of someone who is in a catastrophic event and doesn't know how to feel or what to think. But, a lot of times people reach out to us in their darkest times of their lives and need help. And, in this day and age, a lot of that is we need financial help. Can you share our GoFundMe? Can you tell our story? And we want to do that. It's not something where we're like, okay, where's somebody's worst day? Let's go stick a camera in their face. We do get harassed about that a lot when we are standing on a corner trying to do a live shot or prepare to do our job for the nightly news. And I can tell you, for the majority of reporters out there, our intention is not to invade someone's privacy or private life. It is to help, again, be that bridge so that other families don't experience something, or that someone knows what to do in one of those tragic times, however they want to describe it from their point of view.
You bring up a fantastic point about the description. Like when I first came back here, all I knew is how to write like a cop. All I knew is this is I use the word investigation all the time, and how we go about right. That's how we write. That's all we know. Even though I've been to school and they didn't teach you that way. Learning the verbiage, learning the words, and how you guys do such a phenomenal job of translating what we even put out in the news release. It's fantastic. So Aaron and I, we get so excited when it's quoted. Like our words are quoted, because then we're like, oh, we didn't screw up. Like we actually made it sound somewhat normal.
It's a lot of pressure, right?
It's incredible. Yeah. So you guys, the way that you're able to just seamlessly do that is just mind-boggling to us.
A lot of consultant meetings about that, and write how you talk there's a book about it. Right. And so we appreciate that you guys as public information officers and community engagement are trying to understand that the cop talk is difficult for the public to understand. And we just want to kind of break that down. Like, police say this is what happened, this is where it happened, and this is the area that you should avoid for your own safety. And we'll get more details later. And hopefully
I love
sooner
it.
rather than later.
It's translating cop speak. Because
it really is.
I'm sure you know this already from your family connections, is that we in law enforcement, we write not for the general public. We write for the investigation, so that it when it goes to court, it's old school, like and I was too young for this too, but old school Joe Friday, just the facts. Here are the facts.
Yeah.
On this date and time, I responded to this. And you wouldn't speak that way. I responded to this location. I contacted the reporting party who identified themselves as, right? That's not conversational.
Right. Of course not. They will tell us too in school when you're starting to learn your delivery in the news and you're getting that news voice down and whatever. They're like,
News voice.
Pretend like you're talking to your mom, right? Or your friend. You wouldn't walk in the room and say, "Good evening, Mother. Tonight I'm going to talk to you about my new boyfriend in college and how I'm struggling to make straight A's and I'm probably not going to graduate cum laude like we thought." Like, you wouldn't talk like that. We do have kind of a hybrid delivery, I think, for the most part, especially when I'm anchoring a show. You know, I am saying good evening, everyone, and I am bringing them into the show and whatnot. But a lot of times I do try to get to that more casual, and it's not even like that straight posture anymore.
Yo,
It's
what's up? Hey, it's Rachel Cole on 12 News here. Hey, what's going on tonight?
Throwing down fat freestyles for you until 6:30. Like, you never know. But you try to keep it conversational so that you keep people engaged.
Yeah.
Right? That's all you want to do.
Yeah, they want to connect with you, right? They want to connect with you. And so we talk about that all the time, which is why, and this is going to be my segue, because you mentioned in the Westgate story the suspect in that and his social media posts. But for us, we want to connect with people, and you always want to connect with people. And we work really hard at humanizing the badge on social media. We put out Spirit of Service. We do all these things. We do a video kind of montage called "I Am a Person," where we take our officers and say, "Hey," one of them, Officer Juan Baruman, it's always so memorable to me because he says, "Hi, I'm Officer Juan Baruman. I'm a Scottsdale police officer by day and in my personal life, breakdancer."
Stop it.
Yeah.
And he did the
And he
full
just
on the
spins
ground,
it was
spinning
awesome.
around.
Oh my gosh.
And we're like, that is exactly what we wanted. You know,
Yes.
he's just a regular person. But sometimes has social media changed the way you've done things in the last decade, or the speed at which you have to get information out? I'm just curious how social media is impacting the normal media side or legacy media side.
I definitely think there's a new level of pressure to get information out more quickly. You know, before it was, okay, you have until 5:00 to get your story done, and then afterward you'll publish it for your station's respective website. Well, now, as soon as you have an assignment, you're encouraged to, you know, jump on social media, throw a tweet out, and let people know what you're working on. Maybe you're reaching out to the public as a whole to say, "Hey, who's experienced, you know, unemployment issues? We need a character for our story, someone directly impacted by a real life problem." And so social media, I feel, has added a new level of pressure, but it has also made us as journalists more accessible. I think that it has helped make us more transparent. I've seen more behind the scenes with police departments because of it. So it just creates more accessibility for us to our viewers and for them to us. And so story ideas and content can come from it. Obviously, with everybody being able to be on social media and with there being very little rules and regulations over it, people can spew whatever they want.
Right.
But it's, you know, it's our job to gain a following that will help us retweet and circulate the information that we are getting, whether it is from a police department or from a neighbor who's lost a dog. You know, it's created more of a community engagement and certainly creates story ideas that we might not necessarily have had before.
You know, I agree. It definitely creates more engagement. There's an upside, right? And there's more engagement. But you used a word that I so agree with, and that is pressure. So, you know, we joked around about, you know, I graduated from high school in 1988. In the 80s, right, my heyday, big hair heyday, the news was in 30-minute cycles.
Exactly.
Right? There was no 24-hour news cycle. So, you know, you wanted to watch local news, it was on in the morning, and then there was a noon broadcast, and then there was a 5, 6, and 10, right? 30 minutes.
Right.
World News Tonight with Peter Jennings was like 30 minutes.
Then that's it.
Right. And so today I think about your job during that time period where there were hours long blocks in between any communication, right? And today, for you and for us, I just think the pressure is amazing to get out information. If one of my officers is involved in a shooting, it's where's the info? I need info right now. Or what for us? What are we going to put out? What are we going to do? If one of my officers is injured, the arrest of one of my officers the other day, it is okay. What are we putting out? How much are we putting out? When can we put out? And then we're getting there's just so much pressure because we're in the massive information age of social media and media. It's kind of crazy.
And people want it right now. So that's a question I do have for Kevin is how are you deciding, because you have that same level of pressure to want to get ahead of the influx of questions that you're going to get in the inquiries from the media. So oftentimes there are tweets and information that comes out that is very helpful to us to know, hey, hold your horses. They're on it. They're here. Where is it? What's going on? So how do you handle that pressure and get that information out ahead of those inquiries?
So Chief has actually given us a lot of leeway based on the training and experiences and stuff that we've gone to. But you have your team and we've got ours. And I rely on Aaron and Commander Coffee and constant communication to know how is this going to impactful. And being back here has really changed my perspective on what can I actually talk about? What is the ramifications if I say the wrong thing, because it can snowball effect with anyone rebroadcasting it, that it's difficult. And it's difficult, but like we kind of talked about, like I want to give everything out. I want to say everything I can. But it's just making sure, and we have even our news releases, four eyes go on it, because it's that notion of like, we're stating it. And when we state something, not that it would hold any more value, but we just have that different information that no one else has. So we better make sure we're right.
And that goes back to how we feel, and our mentality is we'd rather be right than first.
Yeah.
And so I'm not quick to the punch with tweets and things like that because, I don't know what the policies are now, but before you can't edit a tweet. You either have to delete it and start over, and then it loses its circulation. And so it's so important to make sure that it's accurate, or that you're attributing it to someone instead of just, well, we heard this on the police scanner, which we're not supposed to report that. We need to confirm it with a department or an expert or whomever and then get it out. You're not supposed to, well, according to police scanners, this is what happened, because, I mean, half the time.
The scanner's never right.
Half the time it goes out as a generic call, and then we get down to the detailed version of what actually happened. So
you can hear, even for us, we hear, the emergency tone will go off. It's a shots fired call. And then if officers are en route, it's not really a shots fired call. It's a suicide. It's somebody accidentally fired their gun.
Sure.
Yeah. So
it could be any number of things.
It's interesting because our goal is, we want to be, and I know you and I both don't like this word. We want to be I'm going to change it. We want to be exceptionally forthright. And so in the past, I will tell you, we had a very, most of law enforcement has, but we had a very traditional thought process on our relationship with the media. It was, nope, we have a PIO, here, go through the PIO. And today I will tell you that if you call Kevin and say, hey, would the chief be willing to do an interview on camera for X, Y, and Z? Now, if I say yes, I want to make sure that we are accessible to you and vice versa. I want to be able to call up and say, hey, we need help pushing out this information. And by and large, our contacts have been very, very good. And so that's really what we want to get. I want that T word, that transparency word. I want us all to be very forthright. And so that's the change that I think all of law enforcement needs to make, is to say, okay, we're on the same team here. We both want truth. Right. It's just a matter of how quickly that truth is going to get out. And I think that you're seeing some departments starting to thaw out a little bit in terms of that willingness to have that regular interaction. So I think that's a positive for us.
I do too. And I think it's great that more departments I like that thawing out, because there is this tendency to freeze up and just say, well, we don't owe you any explanation. That's true. But at the end of the day, if we're all after the same thing, which is not only the truth, but it is public safety, and public information, then let's inform them together and let's be transparent and incredibly forthright together so that people trust us. That's what we're after, really. Why do we do our jobs? Because we want people to trust us and our credibility. So by doing our jobs at that exceptional level and doing it together as often as possible and as quickly as possible, then we're going to continue to gain that back and retain whatever we still have.
Totally
from the
agree.
public.
I think, and there are things that our profession, my profession and yours, we're working on fixing. There's still going to be naysayers who are never going to trust either one of us. But I think that there's opportunity and use something interesting, which is you do have police departments who will say, I don't have to give you that information, or that you're not privy to that information, or I don't have to tell you that. And I will tell you that I feel that is mostly nonsense. Here's why. Police departments are the protective service and enforcement arm of the people. Right. Media is the information, news, and mouthpiece of the people, right? And so we both serve the same public. And so for me, and it was, again, this is going to be speed. Everything that we do is public record. And we want to put out that information to the public. It's just about the speed. So if you hear from my organization or from me, you don't have a right to that information. That's the wrong delivery. If I can't put something out because it's in the middle of a criminal investigation, we will say, here's what we can tell you up to this point. Yeah. We're in the middle of a criminal investigation. The person we're investigating has constitutional rights. And as soon as this investigation's completed, and we hope that it's completed in a very timely manner, we'll release all of that to you. Exactly.
And I think that that auto response of, no, you can't have that, or no, we're not going to give it to you, enhances suspicion about policing and departments. And, it would be very awkward if I were on the corner getting ready to do a live report and said, well, I have information, but I can't give it to you right now. Please tune in at 10.
Yes,
now we do teases, right? We try to keep you hanging on, but a tease and a tease to a later newscast with additional information or a more juicy part of an interview that we've already done or something like that is far different than withholding information that the public deserves to know. Right. So I agree with you.
For us, in the arrest of the most recent officer that was arrested, we put out name, information, a wreck, where it was, all of that. And then what we didn't release, we didn't release the picture, right? We didn't release the photo of the officer. And there are reasons for that. The assignment that officer is in, his picture going out, some bad people would see that and say, oh my God, I know who that is. That I didn't realize that was a cop. And that can cause problems for that person. This person made a mistake, but they're still a human being, and I have to do everything that I can do based on their assignment to protect them. And so I'm sure that you can Google names and all that kind of stuff and eventually find a picture if they're on social media. But I have a responsibility to the safety of those officers, even if they've done bad. I wanted to put out a name. I wanted to put out the circumstances. I want to put out all of that information. And when the report, when that investigation is done, then we'll put that out as well.
And conveying that is the best thing that you can do. I mean, while you don't have to explain your job and how you do it, it's nice to be open about why you are and are not doing certain things so that at least people can try to develop an understanding about the circumstance, good, bad, or ugly.
Agreed.
So learning about your experiences and everything that you've gone through, what is some advice that you would give to anyone that wants to really get into this profession?
Don't do it. You will fail. No. But
well then, all you young people out there listening, I guess you're not going to do that.
There's the mic drop.
If you can hear that and it doesn't derail you from your dream job in this industry, you'll be just fine. There are a lot of people who are going to be that blunt. Mm-hmm. I'm kidding about saying that. Right. But there are a lot of people who will discourage you and tell you just how difficult it is and how challenging it is to break in. And if you can't get your foot in the door, then you're not going to make it. For anyone listening out there who has an interest in journalism or television or entertainment or radio or newspaper writing, magazine writing, etc., just run at it 100 miles an hour and do not let up. because you will make it. And what you'll be surprised to learn is that it's not just about local news. There are a million things that people who graduated with me do for a living, between starting their own production businesses to writing for certain cities to doing media relations for particular businesses. And then you've got me who I studied, news reporting and now I'm a news reporter. But there are a million different avenues that you could take a broadcasting degree, a mass communications degree, and run with it. So just, you hang in there and you take the criticism, constructive or not, and you grow that thick skin that they've talked about for decades in this business. And you just keep your head down and you just keep running at it.
I'm terrified now because 59,000 is pretty high. How do you put the surface of the sun in liquid form? Oh, I feel like my insides are on fire right now. Maybe I put too much. The dad might have been, while it looked small, it was maybe it was entirely too big.
Well, that was a spicy soundbite from our hot sauce challenge on Chief Talk. If you missed it and you want to know how hot the Chief went, you can check out the entire episode on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/ScottsdalePD. Now let's finish it up with our 4 Reels questions with Rachel Cole.
These are pretty easy. This is our 4 Reels section that we get into.
Like for real?
4 Reels, get it? Reels and the whole pun.
Yeah.
It's pretty punny. That's
Like microfish, reel it in.
That's a good one. See, way to bring that back.
Was a delayed one.
That's full circle.
Way to bring that
it.
back right from the beginning.
Thank you.
Yeah. Man,
Rachel pays attention.
Great listener.
Quick. All right, go.
All right. What is your favorite holiday tradition?
Ooh, taco night at Dad's house.
Awesome.
Yeah, he makes them from scratch. They're delicious. Fried tacos.
Does it have to be a holiday?
Yes, sir.
Well, that was the question. But this is
Sir,
supposed to be fast
answer the
fire.
question.
So I appreciate Rachel's fast
See,
fire.
look
She
at
always
it.
looks at
Look
me
at
like,
Policing, fast fire, no good.
Oh my God, that's Rachel's like, just answer the question. I feel like she's got a microphone. There's her camera.
that's what I say every time.
We're on deadline.
Just answer
the
it.
cameraman's in the back. I don't know that we have any normal traditions. I mean, we all get together on all the holidays, but
You have no memories of any holiday tradition of any one of your
works every
52
holiday.
years. No, he doesn't. He's a chief. I'll edit that out.
well then.
Do not edit that out. How dare you?
No, you should keep that in. You should keep that in because then people will know why they see your resume out there in public for a job.
Well, I just got demoted again.
12
We're
news,
hiring
12
Kevin.
news if you're listening. Kevin Kwan is going to be free here in short order by Friday.
So not fun.
No, I just
You do do you do lights? You got grandkids now. So do you do any, go get a Christmas tree?
Yes. So I'll tell you that we do not miss, my wife and I do not miss a trick or treat. We don't miss Halloween. We, since we've had grandkids, which is a long time, we have 5 grandkids now. We go out to the East Valley where our kids live, and we hit every trick or treat. And yes, I push strollers, I push wagons, and we don't. That's a tradition. Is we go out there and I trick or treat with my grandkids.
Do you dress up?
I do not.
Oh, goes a cop.
My daughter-in-law this year said, I was going to call you and say you should wear your uniform. I'm like, no, I wear that. Too often.
I
as
could
it
live
is.
without the target on my back during trick or treat.
So we do things like that. And we spend a ton of time with our grandkids.
That's awesome. Favorite candy?
Snickers.
Nice. Because you're not you when you're hungry. I'll be here all week.
Yeah. You should be at the
I think Rachel needs a
Tempe
different
Improv.
job.
Yeah.
We can hire her as our consultant.
Yes, Snickers.
All right. What is your ideal pizza look like?
Oh, that's an easy one. Pineapple and Italian sausage.
Oh, you totally went rogue with no Canadian bacon.
No. Pineapple, Italian sausage, extra sauce.
Oh, yeah. Okay. You got extra sauce all the way. Mine's pepperoni, jalapeno, mushroom.
Jalapenos are fantastic.
Fantastic.
On pizza.
Yes.
You know what I just tried to, and as long as it's in light, is add a little ricotta cheese to the base.
Yeah.
So it's both ricotta cheese and the extra sauce. pineapple and Italian sausage, the bomb.
All right. What is the best thing? I got this like food thing going on this week. What is the best thing you've ever eaten at a restaurant?
I don't know. Ocean 44 kills it with a filet. It's tough to find a better filet.
Wow.
How cooked? How?
Medium rare, please. I mean, and I know that upsets people, but come on. Medium rare plus.
I'm gonna go
on a
old
day.
school. I love a great hamburger. And in Phoenix, when I was growing up, there was and a little older, or maybe in late teens, early 20s. In Phoenix, there was a place called Ed DeBevick's.
Oh, Eat at Ed's.
And they made an amazing burger. So I always, my wife and I love car trips and love to travel. And so we're always trying to find the perfect burger.
Nice.
So, yeah.
I thought that was just a California thing. I didn't know they had them out here. What is the worst sound in the world to you?
My aunt, who...
Your aunt?
No, I'm going to tell a story.
Oh.
My aunt, who's super cool in the 70s, she was a flower power, but my aunt in the 70s, late 70s, took us, and I was a kid, I was a young kid then, took us to the movie The Swarm, okay? Which the movie itself took place in Phoenix.
Oh.
And here I am in Phoenix watching The Swarm at probably 8 or 9 years old. And so it's about killer bees. And of course swarming and killing thousands of people in the city of Phoenix. And so the worst sound to me is a bee right by my ear, because I'd love to fly in your ear, because I have PTSD from the movie The Swarm. Look it up, see if you can't find it. Like it's in the same vein as like Roddy Piper and They Live. Anyway, so older movies that are great, but PTSD from the movie The Swarm. So I hate that buzzing by my ear.
Well, I'm allergic to bees, so that sounds horrifying. But I would have to say that awful screech, whether it's a chair being pulled or the sliding of a fork on the plate for the last scrap. I mean, just awful. I mean, I could have early stages of tinnitus.
Yeah.
I'll have to ask my doctor about that one.
I can't do green beans because of the sound that it makes.
Oh, yeah, it's kind of a waxy, screechy noise on your teeth.
Oh, I hate that.
Yeah.
It is. What is that?
I like that you're like...
It's what I feel like. I can't eat them.
And you know what? They're delicious, a staple in any Thanksgiving meal, and that is, I hate that too.
I refuse to eat them because of that. But it's that sound of what it is.
Yeah, that's a good sound.
And it's a feel. Oh,
yeah, there is a feeling you can feel that one. Yeah.
Okay, what's your favorite dad joke?
You're going down the street and your pedal falls off. How many frogs are in your oven? None, because ice cream doesn't have bones. Okay, one more.
I'm gonna write it out.
2 penguins are sitting on an iceberg. One falls off. The other says oatmeal. What's the difference between a duck, true or false? Okay, I'm done.
Chief, that was a lot of dad jokes. I like it. I only have one, and I'm pretty sure I ripped it off from a TV commercial. So it's, why didn't the teddy bear have dinner?
No idea.
He was stuffed.
That's a good dad joke.
That's all I got.
That's fantastic.
Do you have one for us?
I just do the, what do you call someone else's cheese?
Nacho
Nacho cheese.
Oh, God.